On this week's episode of the show, every saga we love is ending, so let's all remember the good times we've had.
The creator of everyone's favorite PS4 exclusive spills the beans on the PlayStation 5 specs.
Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is opening soon, and Samsung has yet another fail on its hands. All that and more on this episode of The Geek State.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now seeing another stage of human evolution.
This summer, the future is here.
There is a war coming. You sure you're on the right side?
Stand by alert.
This is it!
Winter is coming. In December, it's on the calendar. This is the Geek State.
We're live from the crypt below Winterfell because it's safe. This is the Geek State, the podcast all about the stuff that's going on in the geek world, the things that we like, the things that we think you'll like as well. My name is Chris, and joining me as always, my buddy James. James, sir, ready to start the show?
As always, I'm ready to start the show, Chris. It is a lovely... I don't want to date this, so it's a lovely day here today.
It is.
Evening. And I'm just very excited to be here. As always.
I'll date it because we're recording this Monday night. It's the night of the Endgame premiere. So public service right here up at the top of the show. If you don't want to be spoiled and you're pretty active on Twitter, I would suggest doing what I did, which is go into your settings, privacy stuff, and add about 30 or so different things into your muted words. I listed just about every version of character spellings that I could think of. The word Avengers, the word in-game, the word in-game as one word. So I am fully prepared for the embargo that is lifted tomorrow at 3 p.m. Tuesday. So today, possibly, if you're listening to this the day the show comes out, because I am really hoping to go into seeing Avengers Endgame this weekend completely unspoiled, at least as far as what happens.
Yes, and if you do spoil it, die in a fire.
Yes, jump. Start the fire yourself and jump into it. We do not condone violence against yourself, but don't spoil the end game. Hashtag don't spoil the end game. We're going to talk about a lot of things that are happening in the year 2019. This is the year that a lot of big sagas or ending, franchises are coming to a close, or, talking Game of Thrones, X-Men, Star Wars, this Avengers, the I don't know what we'd call this, like the Infinity Saga, I guess. We're going to talk about that a little later on in the show, but here at the top, I just kind of wanted to wish Nintendo Game Boy a happy 30th birthday. We did a show not too long ago called, I think, Playing with Portable Power. You can listen to that episode if you haven't already. We talk about Game Boy and its history and all that. But it's 30 years old. And James, I saw an article today, and they were talking about what a really cool way that Nintendo could kind of celebrate the Game Boy would be with a Game Boy Classic. Now, everybody has been so preoccupied with thinking, oh, what if they do an N64 Classic, which I'm sure you would also enjoy. But then I got my brain kind of excited over nothing, because it's not a thing. They're not making this, not that we know of or anything. But a Game Boy Classic. I have a Bit Boy, which is sort of that, but it's not the same. James, what do you think? What would need to be on a Game Boy Classic to get you excited?
Probably not much. I don't know that there's much that could get me excited about a Game Boy Classic, to be honest with you. Just because, you'd have to put, I just don't know. There's not a whole lot of, classic Game Boy games that everyone thinks about, other than, Tetris. You have Link's Awakening, but they're coming out with the Switch version of that soon. There's a couple good Castlevania games that are really expensive if you want to buy the real versions, but would be nice on a Game Boy Classic. But I just don't know that there's a market for such a thing, as it doesn't plug into a TV and people are already holding their phones.
James,
I hate to be a ball buster, but
you are.
I just don't know that. I don't know that it exists. I don't know that the market exists for that.
And you're the voice of reason, because that's probably why they haven't. Because it's the 30th year, and then I think they're going to have a lot of issues trying to do an N64 Classic, and they could have easily, in a price point that makes sense. A Bit Boy, you can pick one up for like $30.
Right.
So the hardware is not that expensive. it just got me excited. I could at least think of you could put every single Game Boy game in a on an SD card. Like,
yes. The other big problem with the Game Boy Classic is the whole bit is they make this smaller version of this. What do you want, a smaller version of a Game Boy? Like it's going to be tiny. You know, you got the Game Boy, not SP. What was that? The Advanced Micro, that tiny little thing.
Unplayable.
That no one could hold in their hands.
Except very small children. I mean, that was, I don't understand.
Tyrion Lannister is about the only person who got enjoyment out of that.
Yeah, he's fictitious, just like the Game Boy Classic. Well, my hopes have been dashed, but I think I would still totally enjoy one. I guess I would have to take apart my existing Game Boy with the screen. You know, that's I bought. I had an original Game Boy, and when they came out with the colored Game Boys, I was, I wasn't going to be able to swindle the parents into buying me another one just because they came in black. So I spray painted my original fat gray one black, and then kind of messed it all up. But I did buy a classic gray one just to have it, and I barely ever touched it. But it's more of a little conversation piece that's sitting out. But God, I kind of would really like a Game Boy Classic. I think that would be pretty cool. But we'll just have to see what Nintendo has in store to celebrate 30 years of Game Boy. If they plan to do anything at all, we'll have to kind of wait and see. James, let's jump right into the headlines this week. Galaxy's Edge, the Star Wars land that is opening at Disneyland in Anaheim, California, opens May 31st. But if you are showing up to that park without a reservation, you will not be able to enter. But have no fear. If you have already made your hotel arrangements for the park between May 31st through June 23rd, you've already had the opportunity to suggest or request a reservation for Galaxy's Edge, which opens there at the end of next month. But if you are just going to the park itself, you're not staying on at a Disneyland Resort hotel, you are able to get that reservation starting May 2nd at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Good luck. That's all I'm going to say. It's I've been reading a little bit about the reservation system. They're going to give you a very specific time to go into the park and when you're supposed to leave. It's about a 4-hour window. I don't know how they police the making sure you leave the park, that area of the park in 4 hours. But considering that only this Falcon Smuggler's Run will be the only major attraction open, with the exception of the shops and, the cantina and all that stuff, Rise of the Resistance won't open till later in the year. It's just sort of a heads up, everybody. If you're going to Disneyland, and you plan on going to Galaxy's Edge, you can, start your reservation process now. I have seen some folks on Twitter, that have been, who are staying at Disney hotels, and their reservations and stuff are already secured. But there was some hiccups, that I've been seeing reported as well, where they're getting reservations for the wrong days. So if they're going to be there May 31st, they were getting, congratulations, your reservation has been confirmed for June 7th or something like that. So I'm hoping they work that stuff out, because I've got a couple friends that are heading down to Anaheim. They didn't know when the park was opening. They kind of were hoping that it would coincide with their trip, and it is. So I'm hoping they bring me back some merch, please.
Yeah, I wonder why they didn't do it in such a way with these reservations. Obviously, I just thought of this while we were talking about it, being you have a beginning and an end time. You almost would have thought that they would have, with these reservations, been like, at this, give them like half the time, and then say at this time, get in queue for this ride. Like, don't get in the ride before, right? Right. Get in the queue for this ride. You finish the ride, and then maybe like have it blocked off to where the exit puts you to the rest of everything, and then lets you kind of work your way out. I don't know.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Maybe it's in a very inconvenient spot for something like that, or the entrance is right next to the exit type thing. I don't know, but it just seems like they would almost kind of almost more give you a time you can come into the park and then a time to get on the ride. Maybe for people who want to ride the ride multiple times, I don't know.
Maybe.
But it just seems like they could have, hedged the crowds a little bit by giving people start times for the ride as well.
Yeah,
say,
I haven't studied.
Come in, ride the ride, leave.
Yeah, I haven't studied the park map as well as I could have. I know that the Falcon is sort of the main attraction, like the visual,
the focal point, yeah.
Right? Like the Tree of Life is at Animal Kingdom and Cinderella's Castle, etc. I think it could have been something where you exit the ride of the Falcon ride and then you've got like some sort of gated off, but that kind of breaks the whole aesthetic of the park. It's supposed to be all in universe, and if you had some sort of like pathway out of the park, they could have done it really cool. They could have just hired a bunch of 501st or just had additional stormtroopers to kind of create some sort of pathway that you have to go down, and you risk being taken into custody by the stormtroopers. I don't know, that would be pretty cool. But May 2nd at 10 o'clock Pacific time. Good luck, everybody.
So Samsung Galaxy Fold has had its launch delayed indefinitely. We saw some pictures pop up online of people getting review units of this, and then about 38 minutes later, we saw pictures of people posting that they were broken because they did not do so well. It is super shocking that they were planning on launching this so soon, being as to how bad these things are getting reviewed and how quickly they are breaking. I think I didn't even know this. I knew that foldable LCD screens or whatever were a thing, or LED screens, I guess.
The OLED, I think.
Or whatever.
Same difference. Organic.
Whatever. Val plus LED. Got it. Anyways, why? How could it have gotten this far and then people are literally breaking them within 20 minutes of use?
Yeah, it is a little
without trying.
Exactly. There's plenty of, there's all the blogs that, try to bend an iPad as soon as they come out, just to try to see if they can. And what's most surprising to me is that there were so many of them. The review units from like The Verge and Gizmodo and random bloggers. It was funny because you would see them first post like, oh my gosh, look how cool this is, like their first reaction. And then like, you're right. Like literally like 38 minutes and, hours later, we're seeing them like, oh, whoops. I know at The Verge, they noticed that while the screen was unfolded and then when it was being folded, a piece of like sand got underneath that flexible screen part. And so that when they opened it again the next time, that little piece of sand shorted out the like half of the screen.
Oh my God. Like, how did it get this far? That's my biggest concern is like, it just makes no sense.
Absolutely no sense. And it's so, it's sad, not sad. I mean, Samsung's had their fair share of Galaxy issues. It's either the screen breaks or the phone explodes. So, the whole idea of a folding screen is super exciting. I know Huawei, which, it's probably filled with Chinese spyware, but, the screen was on the outside of the phone. And I liked the way that device looked when folded and then unfolded. That had a really cool look to it. This one's always been a little weird. It has a screen on the front when it's closed, but it's got a huge bezel around the outside. And then when you open it, it does look cool. But it just seems like this is the reason why Apple hasn't done something like this, because Apple won't do it until it's like tried and true, and everybody
until it's been done for a few years. We get it, Chris. They're a little bit behind.
Exactly.
They let other people invent and then they innovate. We get it.
Yeah. I mean, there's gonna be plenty of people out there that will show a video of like an iPhone 6 folding. Because mine has
we're all happy your iPhone X is finally.
Yeah, my
I'm just kidding.
My old iPhone 6 Plus has a definite bend from it just being in my pocket. So
it was a bendable screen.
It was. It's been bendable this whole time. When you make it out of aluminum, now they're made out of glass. Just so they were like, oh, enough, can't do this anymore with glass. They just shatter. So they initially Samsung issued a statement saying that they're going to pause the release in China And then, like shortly after, like, nope, yeah, everything, we're canceled, which stinks because, they're already most likely shipped out to these stores in boxes ready. So now they've got to bring them all back. They got to, I don't know if this is they've launched, the delay is labeled as indefinite.
Right.
So I don't know what kind of QA you have to do on these to make sure that they aren't going to all break just like everybody else's did.
I mean, I don't even get it because I just assumed that this was, when I first saw a story being like, oh, look at this foldable phone, I was like, oh, they sent Engadget a foldable phone as like a prototype.
Nope.
Like, this is not for another year. And then I saw that they had halted the launch, and I was like, wait, when is it supposed to come out? And they were like, end of this week. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Terrible idea.
No. Terrible idea. So stinks to be Samsung, but I will say, James, you are pretty precedent with predictions. A few weeks ago on a previous episode of the podcast, we were asked about like what's the next, what will the next consoles be like? Will we even have consoles? And then lo and behold, I don't think he was supposed to do this, but system architect Mark Cerny, thank you.
Listen, he created Knack, sir. So if you could learn a name, my goodness.
Can we just pause on that one just for a second? Because I remember when we had the old show on with S'more Geeks, and we covered the live PlayStation 3 press conference, and they would not shut up about that game.
Exactly. It was Mark Cerny.
So he's not shutting up. He was talking with Wired, and he gave out a lot of details about what the PlayStation 5 will be. And so James, kind of break this down so that not everybody who's super into games can kind of understand what this is and is this important? What does this all mean?
Yeah, so I think it is. I think it was planned. I don't think that this was a mistake that he was talking about this. I think it was definitely planned because you have Microsoft just released their big presser about the SAD, the Xbox S all digital edition, which is. Literally, let me just go on a tangent about that for a second.
Go for it, man.
It's $250, which is the price of a regular Xbox S, but it doesn't have a disc drive. It makes no sense. There's no reason to buy it. I don't understand it. Anyways.
Just pause on that one too, because when they did the what was it? The Xbox 360 like arcade edition, the one that had no hard drive, that one they reduced in price. It was a cheaper entry into. And so this is you can go out right now and buy one with the disc drive for the same price.
Yes, but again, MSRP. So whether or not they sell it at that price is a completely different situation. I don't know. They may just be saying that, and then they're going to be like, "Oh, but it's on sale for $200 or whatever, and it's the cheapest next gen console." Could be, but they should have just launched it that way. I don't understand. It makes no sense. If you are a collector, buy one because they're not going to make many of them. It's not going to be a big seller.
No.
So it may become very rare. But anyways, so yes, Mark Cerny talked with Wired Magazine. Or I guess they're not a magazine. Are they a magazine anymore?
They still make magazines.
There's no way to tell. Nobody knows. Anyways, so they released some of the specs, or he released some of the specs, kind of talking about the PlayStation 5. The main reason I don't think that this was an accident is because they also released some video footage of it running PS4 games better.
Oh, okay. So clearly, yeah.
Yes. So one of the things that they did talk about is the new GPU, the graphics processor. Essentially, it will be capable of ray tracing, which is kind of a big buzzword right now in the high-end PC gaming rig community. I don't even know what it means. Apparently, it's cool. Very few things actually supported at this time, though. So it's kind of like the next thing where they said it will also support 8K graphics. So if you have a Jumbotron that's 8K, because I can't imagine there's ever going to be a 55-inch 8K TV. It just doesn't make sense to me. But who knows?
Who knows? I think ray tracing, just to see if I'm right, and if I'm wrong, someone will call me out. But I think ray tracing has to do with the way that light interacts with objects, and the way that it kind of like reflections, and the way that like light can be absorbed into things, and rays can bounce off of things, and it's fully interactive lighting.
Great. Fake lighting, fully interactive.
Boom.
Got it.
Interactive in the sense that if light hits something shiny, it would reflect back onto something else that was nearby.
I see. That's very important. I can't tell you how many times I've been playing games and just been very upset about the way light bounced off shiny objects. But that's because I've never seen it before. Once I see it, I won't want to not see it.
That's like when you're watching standard TV and you're just like, why do I need high def? This looks good enough. And then you go to HD and you're on it for a while, and then you back when not all the cable channels were HD, and you'd flip back to one that was standard, and you're just like, what is this mud? Like, what is this?
You're watching CSI at your grandparents' house, and you're like, how am I supposed to solve the crime like this?
Right.
There's no way you can tell.
There's no hack into the mainframe. That's HD. What else does this thing got?
It will also sport an SSD hard drive, solid state, obviously, is what that stands for. Essentially, that just the way that it processes data. I don't know how solid state drives work versus hard drives. All I know is it works much, much, much faster. It essentially just boots right off the drive. It doesn't have to access another thing. I don't know. Somebody's probably yelling at their screen, but I didn't build my computer. To yell at the screen. I bought it. I didn't have to. I spent the extra $200 to have it sent to me complete. Anywho, but so this brings the question, how big will this solid state drive be? A lot of people are speculating 2 terabytes, but as games have gotten bigger, people are wondering, is 2 terabytes enough space? Will you get more cloud storage maybe with your PlayStation Plus account? Or will game devs finally have to start optimizing and compressing their games? Currently, you download, let's say, a 50 gigabyte game, a AAA game, but part of that is it includes, in the download, includes every language. You don't German, French, maybe we don't include every language. Maybe we can start compressing files. For instance, Breath of the Wild, I think is like a 4 gigabyte game, and it's a huge game. Right. Because they've optimized it, they compress the files. It's a beautiful game. Is it as beautiful as, a new game like Sekiro or something? No, obviously it's not. But it doesn't have as many textures as that. But on the same token, Sekiro can probably not be a 75 gig game or however big it is. They did also announce that it was going to be fully compatible, backwards compatible with PS4 games, and will support the current PSVR unit. And then they were asked further about PSVR, and essentially he said it is something we are heavily invested in. So he heavily hinted at the fact that there will be a PSVR 2.
That'd be nice.
Whether that's a new unit itself or a new box, we don't know. Maybe both. Who knows? So
it would be nice just for that setup, because I like my PlayStation VR. I don't use it all that often. I wish we got some more Star Wars content for that. That'd be cool. But just more Star Wars content in general would be nice. EA. But I kind of read that as kind of like a non-answer. Like, yeah, it'll still work with the PlayStation VR. We still like it. We still have them in stock, so buy them.
Exactly. They said, essentially what he said is, yes, you can plug it into your PS5.
Right. Yeah.
It will work, but I'm sure there are going to be VR games for a new unit. They've really got to fix the resolution on the screen of the one that exists now. That's a big issue with it. But I agree with you. I love my PSVR. So they did say that they did hint at a 2020 release date for this as well, which is kind of what I expected, which I'm no Nostradamus. That's pretty much what everyone's expecting.
Right.
So
Christmas time.
Super excited about this. Yeah. I'm actually hoping for earlier than Christmas time. I don't think that's going to happen. But it's probably going to be a November release somewhere in there. But I would love a spring console. It would make my heart simmer. And they also said that there will be a ton of games that release for both consoles. So there's going to be a period where they are fully supporting both consoles. This is probably your Death Stranding, your Last of Us 2s. Those types of games will probably release on both consoles.
Some good stuff. I'm looking forward to this. Probably, I don't know. It might be. This could be the end of, but I don't know. It's really hard to know, because I feel like internet stuff and, consoles make it so easy. PC gaming, like, I feel like because I'm not heavily invested in knowing what's going on with, like, what video cards are compatible with what and what do I need. There's so many people out there that consoles are just so much easier. I know when I buy a PlayStation 4 game that it's gonna work on my PlayStation 4. So
yeah, And it's cheaper too.
Yeah.
I mean, this console, people are speculating that this is going to release probably for $499, which is $100 more than the PS4 launched at.
Yep.
But they also speculate that will be at a $100 loss to PlayStation or to Sony, which is kind of common. They've done that before. Because they make so much money on the back end of you buying software, because the licensing for the software, they make money on that. So they're okay selling at $100 loss because they hope the attachment rate is, if they can sell you 5 games, they make that money back.
Well, and they know that you're going to want to play these games online, so you're going to pony up the $60 for 2. You know, if they can get you to pay $60 for 2 years, they've more than made up just in PlayStation Online. So
exactly.
Yeah, they got you covered. I know Xbox put out there was some rumblings today about what the next Xbox will be, and they were like, "Oh, it'll be even better." I'm like,
so many teraflops,
so many. The fight begins for this next console. It's been a really good run though. You said what, like we're about 7 years, I guess.
7 years, yeah, somewhere right at 7 years.
That was exciting. I'm also seeing some rumors about a potential Switch Mini, which, you know, until I see something from Nintendo, you know, I don't know. But I think it's a cool move if they decide to make a portable only Switch, because that's how a lot of people play their Nintendo Switch. Most people play it. I wouldn't say most people, but I find myself mostly playing it in handheld mode. Rarely ever plugging it into the dock except to charge it. That's about it for me. The PlayStation 5 will know more, not at E3 because they're not going to be there, but I'm sure as we progress through the year and we get more news, we will cover it here on the show.
Pick up your visuals, counting.
This is a feature presentation.
And now, on with the show.
So 2019 is a big year for giant franchises. We're seeing the ends of major sagas, whether it's Game of Thrones, which is ending at the end of May. We've got Avengers Endgame kind of wrapping up this whole Infinity Stone saga, however you want to kind of say it. It's not the end of Phase 3. Phase 3 officially, according to Marvel Studios, it ends with Spider-Man Far From Home, which is kind of weird to me. I don't totally understand that, but maybe it's sort of like
you will.
We will once we see this. I'm sure it'll be an epilogue or something. We also have X-Men, the French, you know, that whole thing. Ending this summer with Dark Phoenix. It's there's like 13 movies in this whole franchise, and that's coming to a close. And then, of course, in December we've got the end of the Skywalker saga with Rise of Skywalker. So, kind of wanted to kind of walk through the year and some of these, you know, big sagas. We've got Avengers Endgame. I was right before the show started, I was watching the red carpet because I'm a glutton for potential spoilers.
You love just being right on the edge there, didn't you?
Oh, see, and it's funny because while I was watching the red carpet, which wasn't red, it was purple, because of Purple Hellboy. Hellboy did awful this past weekend. It did not. So I was on Twitter and I was slowly adding muted words to Twitter while I was watching the in-game red carpet, and to have them have these stars come up like Elizabeth Olsen, and she was dusted in the last, you know, in the Infinity War, and to watch these interviewers like walk this.
So why are you here?
Right. The last time we saw you had a really incredible moment with Vision, and I'm sure we, you know, have already, you know, and to watch Elizabeth Olsen try to kind of talk about only Infinity War, but then, you know, I mean, we're not under the impression that our heroes don't pull off something majorly heroic, and it's dumb for any fan to think that everybody who died in the last one is dead forever. So it makes sense for them to be there, but it's just sort of a weird, awkward red carpet thing when it's like, we don't know if you're in this, but tell me what it was like to work on a Marvel movie.
Yeah, it's so silly. It makes no sense. It's like just the idea that these people, you know, Spider-Man was dusted and he's the next movie. Like, Of course they come back, but it's like I just don't get it. It
but we
blows
don't know,
my mind.
We don't know some things. We don't know who, if everyone comes back. We don't know who dies, and we don't know how it all happens. And I think that's the thing I'm trying to avoid. But of course, I'm
with you. I'm 100% with you.
I'm the same person who would watch like the press, the Rogue One press event thing that happened like I want to say it was at Celebration before Rogue One, like months before the movie came out. And the guy that played Baze, he first picks up the mic and he goes, "Well, they all dead."
Yeah. Well, Mark Ruffalo got in a lot of trouble for saying something similar.
Yeah.
Way before the first Infinity War came out. He was like, "Oh yeah, a lot of people die," and like I think it's Don Cheadle sitting next to him is like, "What the?"
Yeah, no, exactly. So I was like, ooh, like I was ready to close out that feed, but I kind of wanted to, with Avengers closing out, and I know there's lunatics out there who are sitting through like an AMC marathon of like all of them. Which why do that to yourself? Like why watch all 21 Marvel films leading up to the movie you're wanting to see, depriving yourself of sleep. Just to watch the final 3-hour movie, not totally awake and kind of burnt out from having to sit through all these movies. But I have been watching some of my favorites, kind of going back and like just, I watched Guardians of the Galaxy recently and watched Infinity War last week. But kind of like, what do you think, James, like for yourself? Like, do you have a best or favorite entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far?
I mean, I would probably say my favorite is, it's close between, Winter Soldier and Civil War are both high up there.
Pretty safe answer.
I'd probably say Winter Soldier is probably my favorite.
I like that one a lot.
That would be the one that if somebody hadn't seen very many of them, I would go with that one, because you don't want to do Civil War because it's like there's just a lot going on there.
Because that's almost basically another.
It's Avengers. Yeah, it's Avengers 1.5.
Yeah,
right.
Or is it? Or no, was it 2.5?
2.5.
Because it came after Age of Ultron, I believe.
Did it? I don't even know.
There's too many movies.
I can't keep up with these movies.
There's so many, and and have you even seen Ant-Man yet?
No, I've not, Chris. I've not seen Ant-Man, and I've not seen Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay, so James, the Wasp. You can go onto, this is all you need to watch then. Marvel's Twitter account posted the end credit sequences from Captain Marvel and Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I think you need to watch at least that from Ant-Man and the Wasp, because it leads into this next movie. So it's one of those.
Isn't it on Ant-Man and the Wasp? Isn't it on Netflix?
It is, I believe.
Ugh, I guess I'll have to watch it there.
It's good, and I think it has major implications to what's going to happen. I think you'll.
Chris, it's okay. There's no way it's good. It's okay.
It's good.
It's passable.
It's better than Iron Man 2.
Whoa! I was gonna say that was number 3 on my list.
Are you kidding me?
How dare you?
Iron Man
How dare
2.
you make fun of my parrot?
It's the
How
only.
dare you talk about my pet?
That's the only redeeming.
Where is my bird?
I can't watch that. That's probably the one I watched the least. Well, no, that's not true. Thor.
Tony Stark has a race car.
That's true. Thor: The Dark World, I think, sits at the.
That's by far the worst.
Yeah, I was looking at some lists, and the bottom 3 are typically Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk with Edward, what's his face?
Edward Norton.
That's his name, and who's a great actor. It's just funny. And I was reading.
I think it's really. Wait, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say I think it's really rude to put Iron Man in the bottom. If it weren't for that movie, none of this would exist.
No, Iron Man 2.
Clear. Oh! I thought you said Iron Man 2, Hulk. Sorry.
No, that's my fault. No, Iron Man's always towards the top. Iron Man 2,
Gotcha.
The Incredible Hulk, and Thor: The Dark World usually sit there at the bottom of the list. I still think the things that got me the most, I think Iron Man, the first one, is a classic, and I will, if it's on TV, I will watch it. It's sort of like Star Wars for me. If it's not like Star Wars, so don't get it confused. Star Wars is far superior. But if it's on TV, if Iron Man's on TV, I'll watch it. I'll keep it on the TV. I may not like sit on the couch and watch it, but I'll leave it on. Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, and I'm gonna probably maybe Winter Soldier. Yeah, those are my favorites so far.
I approve.
Good, because you have no choice. You have to, or just you know what? You don't have to. You don't have to.
You know what? Cut me out of this. I want you to edit me completely out. I don't want to be a part of this anymore.
James walks away. I'm going to dust you like Thanos.
Couldn't be the worst thing that happens to me.
So we've got a series that we're not really talking much about because everybody watches at a different pace. It's totally not fair. We're not a show that's dedicated to this. Because, if this was a Game of Thrones podcast, you'd expect to tune in every week and like get a recap of the show and all that. But Game of Thrones is back on the air. We've had 2 episodes as of recording today, with the third one coming this next weekend. That's going to be like 84 minutes long. It looks amazing. It looks incredibly dark, and I'm not just meaning the fact that it's dark in content. It looks dark, like I can't see what's going on. But it's going to be pretty epic, and I think a lot of people are going to die. But it is Game of Thrones. So that's kind of what it is. I do want to share, James, just real quick though, are you watching this as it goes? Or are you going to wait?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I can't mute all of Game of Thrones. I work in an office building with 2,000 people. It will get spoiled.
Absolutely. No, that's the smartest thing to do. I think you have to watch along. Now, I work in an office with only like 15 people, and we don't talk much about Game of Thrones, and I get very excited when anything geeky actually does get talked about, because then I get to engage in that water cooler conversation, which doesn't happen too often because usually it's somebody's kid's soccer tournament or some college sport that I don't follow. But I had a coworker who just discovered that because she subscribes to HBO, that she was able to get HBO Go. And she started watching Game of Thrones. And so she comes in one day and she's like, oh my God, I just discovered that I could do this HBO Go thing. And I started watching Game of Thrones because I'm hearing all about it. Just to paint this picture, this is a woman in my office who's, a mother, has 2 grown kids. She's like the nicest person you'll ever meet. And the more you find out about the show she likes, it's like The Walking Dead, and she's like now super into Game of Thrones. It's surprising and it's awesome.
It's incredible she made it past the incest.
Right. So minor things. She did bring that up. But so she watched the first, I think, 3 episodes when she came into the office that day and to tell us that she started watching it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, are you going into this totally unspoiled? Do you know anything about it? And she's like, no, I just know people like this show. And I was like, well, who's your favorite character so far? And she was like, it's really hard. I have a lot of favorites, but I really love Ned Stark.
Good one. I mean,
so I was like, that's a good one. I can't wait for you to finish this first season. And then she came in the next day.
He doesn't live long enough to see himself become a villain. That's for sure. That's
for sure. She came in and she hit me on the shoulder and was like, you knew. And I was like, of course I knew. I'm on season 8. Come on. Those are those fun little moments. I'm like, I can't wait. I get to kind of relive vicariously through her all the deaths and reveals. And like, I don't know how she's going to survive the Red Wedding. That's just that could end her Game of Thrones watching.
Yeah. It could just end it completely. She could just give up. Let's hope that doesn't happen.
I know. I think by that point you're so invested you can't. Like you're in it too far. You're wanting of revenge for all of that. I think the revenge is just you got to have it. Coming up later in the summer, we've got the end of X-Men with the Dark Phoenix, which I got to say, I saw the new trailer and it doesn't look so bad. Like honestly, if that was the trailer that came out first, I think it still has the James McAvoy.
Was it What Do I Do?
Yeah, I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do.
Tell me how we fix this, Charles. Tell me what to do. I don't know what to do.
Every time you do it.
So bad.
That was like a Batman version of it. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's true.
So
James McAvoy for Batman.
And I posted on Twitter something about all these sagas ending, and I got quickly reminded. It was like, oh no, the X-Men stuff's ending too, and I was like, gosh, that's so true. 13 movies, and that's of course if you count the Wolverine standalone movies, and then I guess Wolverine is what makes these newer movies a part of that franchise, because otherwise I could argue that the first series ends with The Last Stand, and then starting with First Class, we get a brand new thing. But because Days of Future Past and all that kind of interwove, they're all a part of this whole thing. It's had its highs and lows, and I'm a big fan of the X-Men. I've always identified, with the story and what it's telling, and it was some of the first comics I ever read besides Batman. Do you have a favorite film in this series? Like, if someone's like, I've never seen an X-Men movie, where do you direct them?
Where do I direct them? That would have to be X-Men Origins Wolverine. Is probably the best place to. I mean, it's one of the earlier ones in the chronologically. I
didn't say only wrong answers.
Oh, sorry. I don't know. Where would you have someone start? Either First Class or X2.
Yeah.
I think X2 is probably. I think X2's. If I were to watch one right now, it'd be X2.
Same.
That was mainly because it's been a long time, so it might be nostalgia goggles for that one. But that's where I'd start.
I think that one still holds up really well. I think it still has a good story. It's got good villain. It has it's the most clear on the story that it is trying to tell. With the whole, where the mutants and being persecuted and the hate towards them. And then you got Wolverine's, storyline is pretty strong throughout. And I think it's well put together. I think, Patrick Stewart is at his best, in it. But I also, Logan also is, I wouldn't say that's a starting point for sure, but
that's just not a starting point, no. But that one's definitely good. Is Last Stand an X3? Is that the same thing?
Yeah, X3 is The Last Stand.
Okay, I don't think I ever saw that one.
You don't ever have to.
Like Archangel.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I think it's just Angel in that one. I think it's just, he's just got his feather wings. That movie's a mess. It's a
and he's like a senator's son or something like that. Am I making that up? Or
no, he's an important dude's kid.
Yeah, so I've seen bits and pieces. I just don't think I've ever seen it all the way through.
It's not good. But, with the Fox merger and stuff with Disney, this is definitely the end of the X-Men. They already canceled Gifted. So if you liked that show, which was pretty good, it was on Fox. They canceled that show. So they're kind of wrapping up all the loose ends with the mutants. Kevin Feige was just, Feige, right? He was just saying how excited he is to, work in, like Doctor Doom, and he said potentially Wolverine down the line and all that. So, I mean, they're not dumb. They're gonna plan it out. I would actually like to float an idea, that maybe the Marvel Cinematic Universe doesn't have to have everything. I think, I kind of think the X-Men could, not continue on, but a reboot of the whole X-Men, universe could be its own thing. It doesn't have to interweave. Because that way you could keep Deadpool and all of that could kind of stay in this Fox, Marvel Cinematic Universe.
The Foxverse.
Right. And that way it can be more adult. You can have Wolverine using his claws. Because can you imagine having Wolverine in a Marvel Cinematic Universe? Because he's ineffective. Because now
they'll fight robots. They'll just fight robots.
God, boring. Okay, never mind. Let's talk about something that we've already talked about a little bit, but in the last week's show. But this is the end of the Skywalker saga, and that's spanning generations. I mean, we're talking 1977 till today, the whole thing, all 9 films telling this story with a satisfying end. So says JJ. Do you have a favorite moment or memory that's related to more specifically like this new era? Because I've got one that stands out for me, but I was just curious, when we all thought Star Wars was done, that we were just getting, these animated stuff, which was awesome. Clone Wars was amazing. That was cool. And all of a sudden we were like, we're getting more Star Wars movies. I was just curious, James, if you have a moment, whether it's, going to the movies or whatever, what's a standout moment between the buyout and today?
Yeah. So mine would definitely be I think it was the first trailer where Han Solo walks into the Millennium Falcon and says, Chewie, we're home. I think that was like the moment for me that was like, okay, this is happening. I think that was what, probably my like marquee moment. Now, if we're talking about like my favorite type of, I guess movie that's come out since then, is definitely Solo, I think is my favorite after much thought I've put into it, and rewatching of Rogue One because it was the previous contender. That I think Solo is my favorite movie of the new ones, but I think my favorite moment is definitely when I was watching the trailer, and I almost wish I obviously know why that was in the trailer to really shore everything up and pull it all in,
right?
But I almost wish that moment was saved for me to see it in a theater and watch a bunch of nerd boys cheer.
Because you absolutely know when in The Force Awakens, when they're being pulled in to that ship and they're hiding and all that, you're in the theater knowing it's not the First Order.
Right. And that's an issue. Like that's why I try not to watch trailers. You know what I mean? Like I'll watch them once, but it's like after that I kind of want to just let it sit.
You know what they could have done? This is revisionist history, JJ. Okay, so I know you're listening, so take some notes, when you do your inevitable special edition. The ship could have been a old Imperial Star Destroyer that Han and Chewie have taken custody of, and that's where they're hauling these Rathtars in. And so we could have seen this, silhouette of a Star Destroyer, which we've already seen that the First Order has. We don't have to know immediately, this is a different type of ship, and we could see the Millennium Falcon being tractor beamed in into the Star Destroyer, kind of like it did in like the 10 TV4 in A New Hope. And then that way we could have had some level of secrecy, but I understand why that wouldn't work. But I think that Chewie We're Home moment does spoil a very intense, could be very stressful moment in the theater, only for it to be, like you said, fanboy, and fangirl cheering, throughout the whole theater. That would be really cool. The
only problem with that is I think it takes more than 2 people to command a Star Destroyer.
Droids, man. Just tons of droids.
I got in the droid business.
For me, it's the moment.
Just a bunch of pit droids.
I want to see this movie now. I want to see a movie about the fall of the Empire and the this pit droid army that, say there's like the Star Destroyer that crashed on Jakku. Maybe there's one somewhere else and these pit droids go and fix it all up and take off. That's a Star Wars adventure for a IDW comic that, for kids and stuff. That'd be cool. For me, it's I had just gotten back from Star Wars Celebration, and I was hearing all this stuff about Star Wars detours and all this other stuff and whatever. And then, that October, there was like a press release thing that went out like at the end of the day, and I was one of the only people left in the office, and I read it and I was so incredibly excited I had to tell somebody. And I went into my boss's office and I was like, oh my God, Disney just bought Lucasfilm. Like, you don't care.
No, someone who knows your boss, she absolutely did not care. But I can guarantee you, she just looked at you and went, That's great.
That was pretty much.
I'm so happy.
I know. I just, to me, I'm
so happy for the joy that brings you.
Exactly. I think that's what it was. I think, that people can appreciate that even if they don't get it. But there's going to be a lot of speculation, going around and stuff about this. I do know that there is some leaks and stuff, that a few people who are also kind of connected and have a good track record are saying like, dude, avoid these. So I've done my best because if I stumble across something, I might read it, but I'm not going to go actively seek out spoilers.
Right.
I like kind of playing it kind of risky. Like I'm going to go to the Star Wars Leaks Reddit, but I may not click the thing. I may not actually read it. I like to be kind of intrigued by it and just kind of, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. Is Palpatine Rey's father? We'll see. I hope not. But it's kind of this moment. We're at the end of a lot of sagas, and I'm excited to see what comes next. What comes next from Game of Thrones. We know there's a prequel. What comes next for Star Wars? We know it's the Game of Thrones people making some Star Wars. Kathleen Kennedy, which I don't think we should read too much into this. There's people getting really excited. Somebody asked her a question about the Knights of the Old Republic era, and she said something to the effect of, we're basically, this is how I read it. So this is not what she said. The way people are reporting it is that, oh, we're working on a Knights of the Old Republic movie. That's not what she said. She basically said, we have a lot of ideas right now and we're looking into all of them.
Right.
If you decode it, that's what she was saying. But it does make a lot of sense that potentially whatever the Game of Thrones folks do, that it's going to take place in a time period far in the past or good chunk into the future so they can focus on new characters. She also did say that this is not the last movie that will feature these new. There's the potential on Disney Plus in feature films for there to be a Poe and Finn move to a planet and have a happy life together, or whatever. There could be all kinds of standalone stuff that happens with these characters in the future. So looking forward to that. If there is a saga that somehow we forgot, please send us a message on Twitter. We're at the Geek State Pod, or over on Instagram, we're at the Geek State Podcast, and on Facebook also at the Geek State. So get social with us.
When it comes to comic books, superhero movies, sci-fi, fantasy, but I'm going to say there's literally no bigger expert than this guy right here.
James, we are the Geek Experts, and this week I wanted to challenge you as an expert of things video games and video game related, and something that we learned back in an older episode was that you were not a Super Nintendo kid, rather you had a Sega Genesis.
I did have a Sega Genesis.
So
Booger Man for life.
So
that was a game.
Yeah, that's sad that's a game. It's not. I will say that's not an answer on this trivia that I'm going to ask you. So your expertise in Booger Man is not going to help you out here. So what I've done is I've put together a list of the top. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. The top selling Sega Genesis games. And I wanted to see how many of these you could name without guessing a wrong one.
Without guessing a wrong one.
Correct. I'll give you one do-over. So if you guess a wrong, if you guess one that's not on this list, you get one do-over, but that's it.
All right.
You ready?
Wow, this is going to be tough, actually.
It is.
So Sonic 1.
Ding, ding, ding. That's on the list. 15 million copies sold. It's number 1 on the list.
Sonic 2.
That's the number 2 one, sold 6 million.
All right, so I'm safe to say Sonic 3.
That's number 4. So this is Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. It's a combined listing here. They sold 4 million together. So,
all right. So I've got 1, 2, and 4.
Correct.
Right? Let's go with Streets of Rage.
Streets of.
Oh no! Rewind. Stop. No. I don't want to do that yet. I don't want to do that yet.
Okay.
No, I don't want to do that yet.
That's not your duo.
So,
okay.
There was a game called the Six Pack. Is that on the list?
No.
It had 6 games.
No. Yeah, these are all, I'll just say, these are all standalone cartridges.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You still have the do-over, so.
Yeah, Vector Man.
Oh, you just used your do-over. It's not on the list.
Oh, no. This is no bueno. Golden Axe.
What?
Golden Axe. Don't what? That's like a famous Sega game. Altered Beast. What is on this list?
Altered Beast is on the list. Golden Axe is not on the list.
Is Sonic Spinball on the list? Did a bunch of people buy that piece of garbage?
No, but I will read the list. You know what? Okay, give me one more. Give me one more.
Dude, I don't even know. I'm so confused by this list at this point.
Actually, Sonic Spinball is on the list. It's number.
Oh my god,
number 14.
Stop it! Stop it! I don't even know. I'm trying to think. So that's the problem with Sega Genesis now is all the popular games, like all the like games collectors want are rare, so they're not going to be on the list, and that's what keeps popping into my head.
Right.
Oh man,
you got to think. What was the mass market appeal? You know, what's the games that everybody bought?
Oh, what about Earthworm Jim? Nope. It's not on the list either? What is on the list? I need to know this list.
It's great. All right. So number 1, Sonic the Hedgehog. Number 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Number 3, Disney's Aladdin. Sold 4 million copies.
Lion King's probably on there. Toy Story's probably on there.
No. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Sonic and Knuckles, no. Number 5 is NBA Jam.
Okay.
Number 6, Mortal Kombat 2.
Ugh.
The next one is Street Fighter 2. Then Altered Beast, then Mortal Kombat 3, then Jurassic Park. This one is a head scratcher, Miss Pac-Man.
Oh my god.
NFL 98, NFL 94, Sonic Spinball, X-Men, and rounding out the list, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
I almost bought a copy of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers today. They wanted $10 for it. How terrible.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. All the games I named are better than 90% of those games.
Absolutely. I wasn't asking you to name the best ones. Just the ones that sold the most in stores.
Yeah, it makes sense. You got your NBA Jams, your NFLs.
Yep.
That all makes sense, but
you don't have to like it.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Let's look around the region and take our pick of the week.
Shut up and take my money.
All right, it's time for the pick of the week. James, I don't know. Why don't you give us a go and tell us what you like this week?
I feel so honored to get to go first. Finally, I get to go first. My pick of the week. So this weekend I was pet sitting for my family. And I was sitting on the couch with my Switch and thumbing through the Switch store and came across a game called The Mummy Demastered. And it looked like a little run and gun kind of Metroidvania type game. So I did a little Googling, had some good reviews. So I picked it up and it is incredible. It is a movie tie-in to the classic Tom Cruise The Mummy film, but it has literally nothing to do with that film other than that they have the same antagonist. And Russell Crowe is your like mission giver. So that I guess is
from the Universal Dark Universe. I got it.
that we have so many movies coming out for. Anywho, so game is awesome. It's very Metroid-esque, very quick. I beat it in 2 sittings. It was about 4.5 hours.
Okay.
I did not do
16-bit kind of look.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I did not do everything that the game had to offer, but I don't see myself going back to try and get all the collectibles and stuff like that. But I beat all the bosses, explored most of the area, and, just didn't get some like challenge rooms and stuff like that for like extra health, which I never understood in video games. Like doing something that's really hard makes the game easier. It just doesn't make sense to me, but more kudos to you guys for doing that. But the game is not very difficult. I will say that. I only died a couple times. One thing that's very interesting about the game, however, is when you die, your corpse becomes a zombie.
Oh, neat.
With all of your stuff. So you then only have your starting gun, and you have to kill your zombie to get your stuff back. Now, the problem with that lies when you die trying to kill that. Now, there's 2 zombies. One has all your stuff. One has just a gun. And you have to kill the one. You have to try and kill the one with all your stuff without dying. Or you get another zombie, and there was one part where I had 5 zombies of myself in there, and I thought I was going to quit the game. I really did.
I could see that being a definite issue. So my pick of the week is very local and very specific. In San Antonio, it's Fiesta. So if you're thinking of like really big parties, there's certain ones on the list. You got Carnival down in Brazil. You've got Mardi Gras in New Orleans, and I would say number 3 on that list maybe is Fiesta in San Antonio. It's a 2-week-long party. It's going on right now. Having a blast. I went to a rodeo this past weekend, which was pretty cool. At Fiesta, they have this stuff. They're medals. So not like a pin that you wear. And it's a highly collectible thing where there's certain pins like, Whataburger and all these big brands have them, but then local companies have them. And, I always tell myself that I'm not going to go hard into this medal, like, thing every year, that I'm going to, I might buy one. I'll buy the official medal, and that's it, just to have a something. I'm already at, I think I have 6 so far. One was free because it was from Yelp, and I checked in at a place and they gave it to me for free. So, but I did get one that's really cool. It's sold out. It's from an antique store, and it's got, it's Princess Leia themed. It's not exactly Princess Leia. It's kind of, Mexican heritage inspired. Princess Leia has this really awesome, floral, Rebel Alliance logo that's on it, and I was like, how can I not have this medal? So I did pick that one up. It's pretty cool. So if you do find yourself in San Antonio, or if you're out of the state or out of wherever, and around this time every year, it's a huge party. There's always stuff going on, and it's a blast. So for the future, if you're looking for really cool different stuff, I say check out Fiesta, Viva Fiesta. And that about does it for the Geek State. If you would like to join us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, we invite you to do so. Please do join us and see what's going on with us. And we hope to see you around next week. Do us a favor, retweet us, give us some love on Facebook, share us. That's how other folks like yourself discover the podcast. There's literally a bajillion podcasts out there, and we're just one that is just wanting more of more folks like you guys. Also, if you won a Funko Pop recently, they're finally in the mail. I'm terrible at prize fulfillment, but I have a better system now, which will help me get these things out of the door a lot faster. So be looking for future giveaways on Twitter and on Instagram. So for all of us here at the Geek State, stay excellent to each other, and we'll see you next time.
What about the dragons? We have 2 of them here beneath the pyramid.
They are not eating. They haven't touched any food since Queen Daenerys left.
Daenerys is the Dragon Queen. We can't very well let the dragons starve, that's obvious.
If a dragon does not want to eat, how do you force him to eat?
Dragons do not do well in captivity.
How do you know this?
That's what I do. I drink, and I know things.
Yeah, I had one that was like sitting on my desk, like, send me in the mail.
What? Can I ask what your new system is?
Have
you offshored your mailing?
No, I have the stamps.com stuff.
Oh, you started that. Gotcha.
So I was like, okay, I can print the stuff. It takes now I can do it all from the house and just drop it off. Like before, it's just too much. Like I have to go to the post office, and then you have to weigh it, and then you have to do the thing, and you have to wait in the line, and because sometimes our automated system thing doesn't always work, and ugh.